Hey class, SBC 205. This is not a formal lecture. What I'm going to be doing right now is giving you a little quick feedback on your introductory speeches. I'll be doing this for every one of the speeches you'll be given, except for the persuasive speech. Let's face it, it's the last speech. You don't care at that point, so why bother? First off, let me say this. This is going to go for everybody's feedback. This is sort of trends I saw across the board. A couple of things I want to tell you is that if you want specific feedback, please contact me and let me know, and I'll be happy to do that. One of the complaints I get, and I acknowledge this, and I wish there was some way around it, is that I don't give a ton of positive feedback. I give corrective measures, let's say, constructive criticism, but I don't have a chance to say, hey, good gestures or feet were planted. I don't have time for all of that because right now I'm looking at about 50 students. Before the end of the semester, I'm going to have about 80. And I just don't have time to sit down and spell out in great detail exactly everything I see in a speech. If you want more detailed feedback, that's going to have to be done either virtually via Zoom or in person here on campus. We'll set up an appointment, set up a room. If you want that, please feel free to let me know. Okay? And we will take care of that. But really, all I'm going to have a chance to do on your, on Blackboard for this speech and the next speech and your rubrics for all the speech after that is just to give you some quick bullets on what to work on for next time. Okay, let's talk about in general terms some of the things that I want you to be aware of. First of all, get the cameras off the floor. Okay, put them on a chair, put them on a step ladder, put them on anything. When that camera is right there on the floor and I'm staring up your nostrils, I cannot see a lot of things that I need to see to grade the speech. So here, my camera is about 3.5, 4 feet off the ground. I'm about maybe 10, 12 feet away from it. You can see my feet, you can see the top of my head. This is framed well, okay? The other problem with putting it on the floor is in order to get far enough back, you've got 53 feet of space over your head. You have to get so far away from it or you're right up on top of it. Elevate your camera a little bit, put it on a table, put it on a chair, get it between waist height and chest height, and then do it that way. That's a much more effective, much better way to place your camera. Okay? First rule number one, sorry I didn't say this beforehand, no hats. Do not wear any hats during your speeches, period. It's a bad habit to get into. You wind up pulling the hat down so you can't see. It winds up being a distraction. And let's face it, there's very few cases where wearing a hat is going to be good professional attire to improve your credibility. Be aware of framing. I had a lot of people that were doing, let's go right here, this, cutting their toes off. That I really won't take any points off. But what happens is they start here, then they do this, and at this point you are out of frame and you do lose points. Okay? You have to keep your feet, need space below the feet, space above the head. Had a couple of people that did this, way over on the edge of the frame. That doesn't look bad. You're technically in frame, but as soon as you do that, your arm is out of frame. You'll lose points for that. Okay? Make sure you are in the frame and I can see you. Background noise was only a problem in 1 or 2 speeches. If you're going to do these outside, you have to listen back to them and make sure you can be heard. Okay? I know a lot of you guys want to do them outside. I'm okay with that. But if you're doing it outside, you have a tendency to get lost in wind and background noise. Also, if you're going to do it in your laundry room, make sure the washer and dryer aren't running while you're trying to do it. That didn't happen this time, but it has in the past. Okay. Feet should be shoulder width apart, period. I am aware that for the females members of this class, culturally, we tell you not to stand like this. I am going to get into the details as to why during the nonverbal class. But your feet are shoulder width apart, weight is evenly distributed. You want to be up here looking like you are in a position of strength and you are in control. If you stand like this, you look like you're about to tip over. You do not look like you're in a stable position. Feet shoulder width apart, feet even online, even with your audience. None of this. Okay, a lot of people get set, and then they go, "Good morning," and then that's the first thing they do. Okay, so feet in line, shoulder width apart, weight evenly distributed. None of this. Don't roll them over. Don't do the twisties. Feet shoulder width apart, on line, weight evenly distributed, knees slightly bent. Okay? I'll say I'm going to make a mark, so I'll make sure I get to this one. But I'm going to push it down to the bottom. Okay? Never, ever clasp your hands. Don't squeeze your fingers. Don't pull your fingers. Don't play with your jewelry. Hands should not come together really at all. Okay? Hands should be separate. Because this is getting defensive. Okay? Let's pretend this is a note card. Let me fold it up real quick and make it a note card. I should not see this. I should not see two hands on the cards. Okay? We don't hold our cards like this. We don't. The cards are held in one hand. Okay? And the hands are kept separate. Right? This leads us to the next point. Gesture. You're going to hear me say a lot, speak conversationally, and I'm going to talk about that in more detail in just a second. But when we speak conversationally, we gesture at people. We let them know, we emphasize our words with our gestures. And our gestures are not down here. And we do not slap our legs. Our hands are not locked to our sides. We gesture. And we don't stand there like this the whole time with our elbows locked. Okay, you will see me on with some of you say, relax your elbows. What I mean is, this is not how we talk normally. So relax and gesture. Keep your hands apart. Okay? Don't turn your bodies away from the camera. If you want to, hey, it is great, and you will get big thumbs up from me if you act like you have audience members that are spaced around the room. Okay? And you want to turn like I'm doing now and look around the entire room you're talking to and gesture to them and talk to them and make sure that the whole audience is engaged in your conversation. Hey, that's great. I like that. We do not turn our bodies and then turn our heads back to the camera to talk or to the audience to talk, because this is a defensive move. Going to talk more about that later when we talk about nonverbal communication. But our bodies are always, and our faces are always straight on to the audience. Yes, you can turn your head a little bit, but it should always come back to center. And your body should never be turned for any more than a couple of seconds. And only directly related to talking to the audience in that specific location. Okay? All right. Beginning and ending. Get set, then talk. Finish, then leave. See this all the time. Come up to the camera. I'm going to punch the camera, get the recording going. The recording's going. Hello, my name is Vic McInnes. No, plant your feet. A couple of you I saw on the tape got your feet planted, shook the hands out, took the deep breath. My name is, and that's fantastic. Okay? In a real world environment, you come up. Thank you very much for the introduction. You look at your cards for a second. You get yourself set. People think they have to start speaking immediately. One of the things we're going to talk about is the pause is the most effective way to show you own that room. I am so in charge here, I don't have to speak. So get your feet planted. Get your hands comfortable. Get relaxed. And then begin speaking. The corollary is, don't leave until you're finished. So one unique thing about me is I lived for 5 years in the United Kingdom. Turn the camera off. Okay? Same thing as at the beginning. Finish talking. Pause. Wait a couple of seconds. Then turn the camera off. And one unique thing about me is for 5 years, I lived in the United Kingdom. Okay? All right, 2 last things. Use note cards. A lot of y'all tried to do it from memory. Most of you pulled it off. Some of you had long gaps where you said things 2 or 3 times and you repeated yourself. Note cards, and we'll talk about them in detail, but note cards help you with that. Second of all, if you get up here and you aren't using note cards, my immediate assumption is you're using off-screen notes. Okay? A lot of you weren't. But if you're not using note cards, I will look for you using off-screen notes. Off-screen notes are not permitted in this class. And I will know it. I've been doing this for a very, very, very long time. And if you're using, I'm not going to tell you how I know. There were 3 of you using off-screen notes this time. I guarantee it. Okay? Do not use off-screen notes. Do not use off-screen notes. Please. For every speech after this, you will be required to have 2 note cards in your hands. And if I don't see you using those note cards, we will have I will note that. Okay? Second of all, you're going to hear me use this phrase all semester, conversational style. Yes, this is a formal public speaking event. These are formal public speaking events. You will be expected to know, normally when you give when you're in a conversation with a friend, you don't stand with your feet shoulder width apart, okay? But you also, you need to be aware of the fact that you're in a conversation with your audience. Even though your audience isn't speaking back, we'll talk about that. You're engaging your audience. We'll talk about dialogic theory, okay? We'll get all that down to where you understand that you're in a give and take in a conversation with your audience. For you to avoid that, to focus on your note cards, to focus on an off-camera script, to look down at your feet, to not gesture, puts a barrier between you and your audience. Okay? Our goal is, even in a mass communication situation, is to make the audience think we're talking to them personally. Go back and look at some of the speeches. Look where Bill Clinton gave a speech in 1992, where he said, "I feel your pain. It's hard out there and I feel your pain." And the people fell in love with him because they felt like he was connecting with them personally. You can't do that if you're reading a script. You can't do that if you're not gesturing. Okay? So we're going to be striving, and you're going to hear me say a lot, conversational style. Okay, that's what I got for you today. This will come out as part of the announcement when I post this. You post your feedback on Blackboard. You're all going to get zeros for this, but I will explain that in the announcement. And if you send me an email saying, "Why did I get a 0 for this?" I'm just going to say, read the announcement. Okay? All right. If you have any questions, always email me, because I can't answer your questions if you don't ask them. If you want more detailed feedback, email me and we'll set up an appointment where we can have a one-on-one conversation about it. I will review your speech, okay? And then I will give you feedback. Oh yeah, really, this is the last thing. If you have any questions about what I've written before you email me or to ask questions, please go back and watch your speech, okay? All right, that's it. Everybody stay safe, everybody stay well, and we will see you soon.